Right, so the reason why the motions wasn't working most likely is because I forgot to install them inside of Iclone itself, so I completely forgot about that. What you need to do, you need to go into the content folder, and you need to literally go into the motion folder, find the character you want to find the motion for, like in this case Heidi, go into its perform section and download all them ones until they are available to use. Once them motions are available to use, then we should be able to perform the interactions with Heidi. Let's give it a try now. And whilst I'm doing this, I'm also going to install some of the motions on here as well, like Mason. So I'm going to go into perform, no standard pickles. It's a female character though. Oh well, it doesn't matter, it's still applied on so anyway. So yeah, it works. These motions were actually already installed. A bit strange, okay. Let's see if we can install these ones. Oh, well, these ones won't install. I need Iclone 6 for some weird reason. Right, so you're not going to install, right? Ignore them ones. We have these ones. So we've got some nice motions going on there. What's this? Oh. Oh, these already work anyway. So, yeah, they work. Yep, they are working. It's just because it's on timeline, you got to see it individually. So all the motions are working now. And because they're working, we can actually apply this straight onto this character if we really wanted to in that way, or we can just, well, that's one way you can do it. We can just apply it onto the character, and it goes onto the timeline, and they start doing the animations and whatnot. But that's not actually baked onto the character. The character can't actually perform all that. If you right-click on it, there's nothing she can perform. Right? So the way of sorting that out, if you put Heidi back on, or the character that we want to use, I'm just going to stick with Heidi for now, so click on the head, and then let's just zoom out a bit, so we've got this space going on here, Heidi. Right, now, if you go into perform, our animations should start working, and there we go. See, that was the only issue, was because we hadn't activated it on the actual thing properly. So now what we need to do, if you want to animate her animations onto our character, we just got to left click on our character, quite literally, go into edit in 3D Exchange, right? Once our character loads up, all we have to literally do is import it all in. Hopefully it will work this time. So if I go into import, and I go into all the animations, and there we have it. All of them have been imported in. The problem was because we hadn't installed the pack. That's why none of them were actually working. And so it was a simple solution in the end, it usually always is, and that's what it was on this occasion. So if I just click on air dance, this character will be able to do an air dance now. So if I just double click on it, you can see the animation. And there we go, it's better. So let's stop the animation now, and then we can do a catwalk if you wanted to. There we go. And you get the idea there. Now at the moment the motions aren't actually on the perform editor. All we have to do now is just make sure that we select all the animations that are here. Shift click on them all. Or you can just simply say here, add all to perform. Easiest way of doing it. And once you do that, they're all on the perform list, which means they'll be able to carry out them actual animations inside of Iclone. All we've got to do then is make sure you click on apply to Iclone. Very important that, and that will import all them animations of that character onto them and bake it onto Iclone itself. So if we go back into Iclone now, our character should be fully featured with them new animations. So if I just move this mouse a bit out, okay, and if I right click on this character, we have something now. We don't have it yet, and where was it gone now? I've still not actually applied it yet. Let me try that again. Apply to Iclone. Let me try the top one as well. Apply to Iclone. One of them will work. Maybe we've got to get rid of the existing character and put them back in or something. We'll deal with them in minutes. Right click on them. Right, yes, let's get rid of that character. And let's just say apply to Iclone from here. And we go back into Iclone. There's our character. Right, so what I want to do now is right click on them. And still the perform options haven't appeared on here. Transform, look at path. Right, what is it? Oh, maybe it's this one. I keep getting confused which one it is. Yep, so many different options here to pick. Right, so maybe I was using the wrong one. Let's go back. Let's go into apply to Iclone on this one. Right, okay. It's promising. So let's put our character back on. Before we got rid of them. Make sure that character is selected. Right, and then we go back into 3D Exchange, and on the Motion Library tab, on the animation, we click on Apply to Iclone in that one. Okay, and then it should apply it onto this character for us, hopefully. Right, and there we see the instant change there. Right click on it. The animations are being played on the timeline. Oh, I think I know what's happened. It's because I tried to apply all the performs together. Right, it's not a problem. It's just that's there. So the performs are actually sitting on here perfectly fine. Now to get that motion actually into Iclone, we need to save it as a preset because that character doesn't seem to have the perform option there. Right, so what we can do to fix that issue is we can go into motions, we can go into custom, we can go into motion again, and we can add in this clip onto the motion, quite literally. So all we do is we click on plus, I think it is, and then that will put in the full motion of that clip onto it. So say if we want to apply the animation back onto that character, we can easily do that then. So say if we to put it back on, all we do is find the time where the animation's finished. There maybe, put that motion on the character, and that will then play the animation. There we go. Obviously we don't have enough time to play the full animation though, but that's basically what it's trying to do. So it just plays the animation from that point. Obviously we ran out of time there, so on timeline. If I just make a few tweaks on this timeline actually, so say for example we want to add even more frames on. Right, so can we do this easily? Probably not this stage now. Right, so you want to bring out this timeline into the advanced options. We've got more options here. There we go. So if you click on this, show timeline, you will actually see the timeline properly. And there we have a timeline. Now on here we can delete things as well that are already on here. So we can select a block, delete, but that doesn't seem to do anything. Let's go down. Right, motion, here we are. That's the actual animation that's playing on our character. If we delete that, there we go. Now it doesn't have any motion at all now. Right, so we've got rid of the motion completely, and so we can just put it back on now. So say if we want that preset that we created from 3D Exchange, we click on that, and then when we click on play, the character will come animation. And there we go. That's all the moves we've added onto the character now. Obviously, it's because we put all the moves on. You can select one at a time and put it in that way. So you get all the options and you can select which one you want from the list. But that's the idea. That's how you do it. You just go into here, go into this, and you know, you literally. Oh, and obviously, I forgot to mention, when you do this, even though you selected all of them, it won't actually select all of them. So what actually happens is only performs the active animation. Sorry, I forgot about that completely. So one way you can fix that is to simply say I only want to apply one animation onto the character rather than all of them. So if I just delete all that, I'm doing it just one at a time, to be honest with you. So if you click on Air Dance, okay, you make sure it's selected. You can then click on Add to Perform like that, and then it just puts in the Air Dance for you. And if you click on that, and just obviously apply that into character, into here obviously, and get rid of the motion that's all there, get rid of that motion as well, yes. So this is going to be the air dance now, so I'm just going to go into clicking on to apply to Iclone a motion library, very important. Only one motion playing now. So go back into here. Right, so now it says there clear air dance as well. So you can actually identify exactly what it is. And there we have just the air dance playing by itself. Okay, so that's basically how you do it. Obviously you'd go through each of the animations and make sure you play them all individually. Where's the motion track one? It's all at the end, that's why. Okay, let's put the timeline back to the beginning then. Be ideal. And then let's try that again. So let's just get rid of the main character, we don't need anymore. I'm just going to put that back in for ourselves. So apply. Oh, sorry, forgot to select the character. Right, yep. Apply. Because every time you do that, it sometimes deselects the character. So make sure the character is selected when you're doing this. And there we have it. Right, and I don't know why the motion. Ah, yes, it's at the beginning. Good. Yep, so the motion is at the beginning. Yep, and there's the air dance. And you can see that it's just the air dance and literally nothing else. Okay? Right, and so if you just want that animation playing in, you can just save that into the motion library clip, and then you can reuse that animation for whatever you want it for that particular character. Very useful when you want to export different animations in from different softwares and you want to plug it in and work with it inside of Iclone. So anyway, I showed you how to use animations. I showed you how to kind of mix it in together where you could, like, have different performs and stuff like that, and you could just mix in the animations that way. But that's literally all you do. You just go into the content section, find the motions. If you just want to play the animation, you just literally go into motion and you select the motion you want to on the actual list on the template, and just go into the so just go into the actual character, like lady for example. Use any of the animations that you like and perform, and you can just start doing a quick animation that way as well. So that's handy. So if you want to get rid of that animation and just show that animation again, there we go. You can do an air down stepwell as well. There's no need to use the 3D Exchange for that one. I'm just showing you how you can get animations in though. But obviously if the existing animations inside of Iclone, you can just plug them in yourselves and then you can just save that into the actual motion clip. So once you've got the animation, you like that animation, you can then just say, okay, I want to export it as a custom animation. So you can just say custom and then plus, and that will save the animation for you. Easy. And that's called, in that case, the catwalk, I think it was. I can't see any more here, but anyway, you get rid of that animation, and just like before, we can pop the animation back on, as we're saving it now as a custom animation. So double click on it, and there we have it. So we can play it back, and that animation we can use them whenever we want to. So that's kind of neat. You can do that with existing animations. That's not a problem. Existing animations are much easier to work with. Right, so you just go into a template, pick what you want, and that's how you can get your animations in. Say if you want to put this animation in. Right, so say if we have a walk loop, for example. Okay. Right, and then you want to have a walk, different type of walk. Okay, and then you just want to have a walk start. Right, and then a walk end maybe. Okay, and then you might want to have a different animation of, say we just you hide the animation, just click on perform, and you just click on dance. Right, and all them animations now would play the timeline, and we just mixed animations together there. Just go on pause there, and the next animation starts. Okay, so you can see all them animations are there. I don't know why the pauses are there, but you can obviously go and fix that. Basically, the animations are there, and you can then put all them animations onto the motion again. So you've mixed the animations together now, and all you have to do then is click on the motion tab here, custom, and then just make sure that you are in the actual motion tab, which we are in this case, and we're already on that, and click on plus, and that will be your animation fully played out, and you can delete all that animation here then. Okay, then you can plug the animation right back in. I don't know why it's still playing the animation for. Well, because it's still got the animation in there, hasn't it? Right, so if I just click timeline, just go through the timeline and make sure timeline there's no other animations playing, and once that's the case, nothing else playing, we're all good to go. We can just put in its motioning and created before. And there we have it. The motion is now playing for us. It's a mixed animation for us. Right, so I've showed you how to mix animations inside of here as well now. So we're almost complete now with the Iclone first stuff. It's not really much else you can do, so I've showed you the animations, I've showed you the motions, and how to create your own and mix them together and stuff like that. I've showed you how to borrow animations from other characters as well in different ways, so I've showed you how to go in through from the 3D Exchange as well. So now what we have to do really is just get this character really into something like Unreal Engine. So let's just quickly do that, and then we'll do one more aspect, which is the custom animations, which we'll do afterwards. Just before we get this into the actual Unreal Engine, we need to make sure we do some lip syncing on them. So I'm going to just do a quick lip syncing test just to get that in, and then we're going to get it all into Unreal Engine for ourselves. So let's just quickly install something like Replica. Sorry, spelled it completely wrong there. Found it anyway, so you want to type in there Replica Studios though. Right, and you should find the integration that pops up then. Just here. Okay, and it will say $0 because it doesn't cost any money if you you know, on the character creator side of it, on the Iclone side, there's no money for that. You click on it, and all you do here is you click on download, and it's just a downloader really. Okay. Right, so again you click on download. Okay, and then it will actually download that product onto the computer for you. Find a location, and that file name's a bit bizarre, so I'm just going to call that Replica Studios.zip, right? And then you just right click on it and click on extract files to where you want it. So I'm just going to put that onto a desktop for a start. Stop. And click on it there. And click on extract files. Just as before, we just extract it. And there we have Replica Studios now. And all we do now is once we've installed Replica Studios, we just put that literally into its integration, which I'll show you in a second. Right, so that's that. Okay, we need to just make sure that Replica Studios is installed on the actual computer, so we've not got it installed at the moment, I don't think. Let me just check. Right, so I've not actually got Replica Studios installed at all, so let me just quickly do that for you now. So once you've got Replica Studios off the main website, which is, if you just type it on the internet, you will find a download for it. Replica Studios, right? When you go onto the main website, you need to obviously sign in and register with them. Once you do that, you'll be on the main page, and from there you should be able to access your account and everything else. So yep, I'll just leave that page open then and close that down. Right. Okay, so we've already downloaded it onto a desktop. We've got the Replica Studios in here, and this is the folder we copy, our folder. And basically all we do is we copy it just as the instructions on here says. We just copy it into the Iclone installation directory. What else did it say on here? So copy that folder into the Iclone install directory, and then we go into the bin64 and open plugin folder. That's where it needs to go. So we need to find where it's installed first. Okay, so in this case it's on the F drive, Reallusion, Iclone 7, and there's the bin64 folder. Right, we look for that. Then we look for open plugin. There it is. Okay, and all we do then, paste it right into that folder. Okay, so the Replica Studios folder all into that folder. Right, so that's all done now, and it's ready to go. Now what we need to do is enable the plugin from the menu. Okay, so plugins Replica Studios. So let's just do that now. Enable the plugin inside of Iclone itself. So you go into here, plugins. Okay, and you can see I think it's because I need to close down Iclone first, so I've got to save this file out first. Let me just save this project. I'm going to save this onto the desktop. I don't want to lose this. That's how character is made. Custom. Okay, so that's the project I've just saved, and now I'm going to have to close down Iclone and reopen it again. It's just one of the things you have to do when you do integrations with plugins and stuff like that. So let's just open it up again. And this time it should open up for us plugins. Right, so plugins. And as you can see, we've got a new folder here now called Replica Studios and Replica Link. That means that we're all good to go. So if I just open up our project now, and that's saving on desktop, and it's custom projects. So that's our character with everything else on them, everything ready, all the motions, animations, everything else. And that's ready to now go straight into Unreal Engine, pretty much. Let's do lip syncing very quickly now. Okay, I've got the Replica Studios integration installed now. So I've showed you how to install all 3 of the extra assets now. I've showed you how to install the Des Genesis extension, which I didn't really use. I showed you how to install the Unreal Engine Live Link and how to get it all properly set up. And now finally I'm showing you how to use Replica Studios integration to get lip syncing and voice syncing into the actual Unreal Engine itself. Okay, so let me just do that quickly now. So as you can see, it's active here. So all you do is you click on the Replica link, you make sure the character is selected. Okay, so all you do is you click on it, plugins, Replica Studios, click on Replica link, and now you need to make sure 2 things. You need to make sure that Replica Studios is already running on the computer, which in this case mine isn't. So I've got to first got to install Replica Studios on this computer. It's not even installed actually, I don't think. I was going to install it, and then I started showing you how to get the plugin working, right? So the plugin is working, so now let's just install Replica Studios itself. Okay, so just go into the pen drive, and then I've got Replica Studios right here. I showed you how to download, where the link is. You just basically download the actual product. Right, so once you're logged in, not the app, Windows, right, yeah. Of course. So you just click on download there, and it will install download the Replica Studios exe file, and from that obviously you can just run it as a normal installer. I think I'll just use that one because they're more up to date anyway. So yes, I don't really want to run it. More info, run anyway, right? I don't want any I don't want it to be blocked or anything. It needs to be run. Right. So right, we need to make sure it's private networks, allow access, and then we need to sign in. So after you downloaded the products, after you download the app for the version that you're using, Windows or whatever you're using, okay, start is just setting it all up for us at the moment. Right, and then it will eventually ask us to log in again. Right, so once you're logged in, you're into your Replica Studios account, and that means now you're ready for recording, literally. So you just need to basically choose the character that you're going to choose for the voice. So let's say, for example, I'm going to choose voice library. I'm just going to choose any of his voices, it doesn't really matter. Pick. Actually, I need to. Yeah, sandbox is what I want. Hang on. No, that's sandbox. Right, select voice. Right, I'm just going to pick any of these. It doesn't really matter which one we go for. I'm going to go for Ember for a start. Okay? And she's just going to say, hello, how are you? Right, so let's just play out how that sounds in here first. Make sure it's working.
Hello, how are you?
Yep, that definitely works, okay. Now what we've got to do is we've got to put that voice into the Iclone itself. That's actually much easier than we think. And so all we have to do is make sure everything's been set up, and we go into the pipeline again, Replica Studios and Replica Link. Still showing us red, but we have installed our software now. So we click on Select Avatar. Okay, once you click on Select Avatar, it says Temp Avatar is ready to receive voice. Okay, so that's good, right? So now all we have to do is go into here, and we go into Save Take. Okay, and now what we do here is we click on Download, and we click on Export to Iclone. Very important. We click on Export just do Iclone Tamp Avatar, the avatar that we want to export it into. Then we go back into here, into Iclone itself, and it says Select Animation. And then it says Auto, right? I'm going to keep it as Auto for now. You can change that to whatever you want to though, and click on Apply. Then we wait for it. It applies the lip syncing and everything onto the character now. That's what these visamies are. Okay, so after it's done that,
Hello, how are you?
see how good that was? Very natural sounding, straight on the character, no issues at all. That was brilliant. Let's just play it again.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. That's high quality, that's actually. Right, so that's actually very impressive. And it's straight onto the timeline. And we have that animation going on, okay? So then, after a few seconds later on the timeline, let's move the timeline a bit, we're going to make say something different, like, where have you been? Okay, and again, we're just going to click on Save Take. And then this time, we're just going to click on, let's do it again, download again on here, and then export to Iclone as a temp avatar. That's what the character's called. This time we're going to go into Disgust, okay? And we're just going to go into Strength. We're going to go for Medium. Right, so she's going to have a bit more of a pronounced voice. Okay, so let's play that back now.
Hello, how are you? Where have you been?
See, so that wasn't too bad.
Hello, how are you? Where have you been?
Yeah, so that's not bad. It's pretty decent at the moment, okay? Right, so then if we just add in something else. Okay, it says
I was lost in the circus thanks to you. Let's get out of this maze before the troll comes at night.
okay, so let's put that into Iclone itself. So again, save take, download, export into Iclone, and then just gonna have fear in this case, and apply. And that will do, that will just be our example then, just a few bit of dialogue going on. Just this one character, I'm not going to put two characters in. Let's just play all that back now.
Hello, how are you? Where have you been? I was lost in the circus thanks to you. Let's get out of this maze before the troll comes at night.
Yay, see that's brilliant playing back now. Okay, so that's really good now. So that works perfectly. So now we can put that character into Iclone, into Unreal Engine, sorry, with all of that and good stuff going on there. Okay, we'll bring you back to avatar. I was reading what it says here. Okay, so we don't need to do that. We've got that installed. Right, so that's that. All we have to do now is we need to just make sure the character's selected, which they are. Then go into plugins. We need to make sure we close all the extra tools we don't need here because we don't want to be grabbing in extra resources that we don't need here. Okay. And now we need to make sure that Unreal Engine is actually running because otherwise this won't work. So the Unreal Engine needs to be running for this Unreal Engine Live Link to work. So make sure you double click on Unreal Engine and then we just have to wait for it to load up and then I can show you the final thing on this video, which is the Unreal Engine Live Link in action. And then we've pretty much covered with Iclone as well. Okay, so just a few extra things to do here. Just waiting for it to load up. Okay, I've already created this project as before, so let's click into my projects. I've showed you how to set up the integration already before, haven't I? So I may need to show that again though, because I think that might have got deleted on the other video. So actually what I'll do, right, so date, right, okay, so all we want to do now, we want to put in our character creator model, right? So what we do, if everything's set up here properly, so what we'll do is go into edit and plugins just to make sure. Just go into live link, and that is now enabled. As you can see, it says Iclone live link. That's the connection for receiving motion capture, right? So I don't think that was there before actually, so now it is. So yeah, that's what we want. That is automatically enabled, and so is the link as well. Okay, so you've got to make sure that is selected as well. If that appears, make sure you select the Iclone live link, very important. Make sure it's enabled. If you have to restart the program, do that again as well. Okay. Right, now once that's all been set up, all we need to do now is go into Iclone, and then we just go into plugins, and we just literally have to just make sure she's not got a dress on or anything. I think them clothing is fine, the hair is the only issue. So what we need to do with the hair, select the hair on the actual characters, so which is actually a bit difficult to do in this. Right, what we're going to have to do, weighting, we want to get the weighting on there. Right, so we're going to have to put this character back into character creator very quickly, because we've got to do weights on that. So let me just go into edit in character creator very quickly. Right, and then we just want to make sure that into the selected the characters. Need to select the hair, select the hair, so we want the clothing. So if we go into the hair, it's basically the weight maps of that clothing or the hair that goes onto the character. You need to make sure when you do it in character creator, we get rid of all the weight maps. Okay, so the way of doing that is by clicking on the weight map itself, and then all we do is we click on delete here. Okay, click on delete like that, and that will then get rid of that weight map on the character itself. Okay, so then we're doing Iclone, it will be absolutely fine. Right, so we close it down, and there should be no more weight map now. Okay, I'll do the same for both the scalp and the main hair. There should be no weight maps. Okay, and once that's done, then we can re-import that character back into Iclone. Now obviously if we had a dress, we'd have to get rid of the weight map on that as well. So remember, get rid of the weight maps on any clothing like dress or cloaks, because they will look dreadful when they go into Unreal Engine, and hairstyles, especially female hairstyles, which are long and like that, they can cause a lot of issues. So the best thing to do with that is just to get rid of the weight map completely. Doesn't cause any issues into Unreal Engine. And once all that's done, you can transfer that character back in, so make sure you select actor, and then just make sure you go into, again, file, and again, export, and again, you want to send that character back into Iclone. It's already got all that in there. Amazing.
Where have you been?
Right, so I thought it would have lost all that, but it actually hasn't, so that's actually really cool. So yep, it's kept all of it on there. So let me just save this now. So we've got rid of the weight maps now, and so we're actually ready now to export this into Unreal Engine. We've got all the way now. We made it all the way needed to succeed. So remember the extra step in Character Creator. We need to make sure that we click on either clothing or the hair. In this case, the hair was a bit hard to find. It's in actor parts and pigtails, and then disappears after the materials. And then we click on the weight map, and then we click on each of these, so the scalp and the tails, and we delete the weight map on them when the option appears to do so. And that's all we do. And once all that's been set up, we're almost ready to go into Unreal Engine. All we've got to do is make sure everything's okay, which it seems like it is. speech and everything's being carried over for us. So all we have to do now is just click on close down character creator. We don't need that anymore. Okay, that was just for the weight map, and all we do now is we go into plugins and we go into Unreal Engine Live Link. And we go into Unreal Live Link. Everything's been set up here, so all we have to do on here is click on transfer. Now we don't want to transfer any props, or any cameras, or any lights, so make sure you untick all of that. And on link, again, we only want the, so untick the lights and everything else apart from the character, and untick the prop as well if you have to. Okay, and make sure on link you click on activate link, so it says link activated there. Okay, and on transfer, all you do is you click transfer when you're ready. So once everything's been set up, and everything looks good, you've got the character fully selected, you've got to make sure that it's selected at least, and then you click on transfer file. And then you wait for Iclone to do its stuff, and then it will put it into Unreal Engine in a few moments. So we'll switch over to Unreal Engine in just a moment. Okay, so this screen up here is nothing to worry about, it's just basically putting in all the Unreal Engine textures now. So Unreal Engine is going through its dialog boxes. This means it's working correctly. If you don't get this screen, it means that you're not properly installed the plugin and there's stuff still to do. As long as you get all this, you're good to go, and there's a bit more waiting, and soon your character will be in Unreal Engine 4. Right, and now it's doing the Unreal Engine stuff. Okay, so just wait for it to compile shaders. This will take again a few moments. Almost there now, everything's good, it's not crashed yet, so that means everything's good to go. Unreal Engine has picked up everything, and you can see here, it's got the characters here that's showing up already. All we have to do is just wait a few more moments for this to complete. Okay, and that's our actual avatar there. Okay, the skeletal mesh. That's the important aspect. We're not really worried about the live link stuff at the moment. We're just worried about the skeletal mesh here. Okay, just let it load up. And obviously the skeleton, it needs them streams to operate into Unreal Engine successfully for ourselves. Now what you'll notice is when it comes into Unreal Engine, it will have no animation. Don't worry about that because the animation doesn't come through on the live link. You have to import the animation in separately, which I'll show you how to do as well in a few moments. This is just to get the character in fully with all their materials and textures and the clothing and everything else. The rest of the motion and animation stuff you have to do manually through Character Creator, or shall I say Iclone. Right, and that is our character all into Iclone, into Unreal Engine, sorry. And you can open it up and you can see the actual character is actually there. Okay, and if you look at the hair looks very good. Okay, it looks amazing. It looks just like it did in Character Creator. The reason is because we got rid of the weight maps. If we wouldn't have got rid of the weight maps, it would have looked terrible. Okay, and you can navigate in Iclone, Character in Unreal Engine, sorry, just by using the arrow keys up, down, left, and right. That gets you in close to the character. The mouse wheel does a simple zoom in and out. And if you do mouse wheel and left click at the same time, you can zoom into the character as well, like that. Yeah, so that's the character. It looks very, very good. It looks almost like it did in Character Creator, if not better. So that's really, really good stuff. And now we just want to look at some stuff with the character itself. What we have to do now is we've got to make sure certain things are set up here. We've got to firstly make sure that the skeleton is properly set up. Right, so if I just close that down, if the things are actually connected on a skeleton now, is that the retarget manager? Yes, so that's what you do. So when you enter the skeleton, you go into the retarget manager, and it is very important to do this. So it says here current skeleton, it's already got temp in there. Make sure that is select humanoid rig, and then what you want to do here on, we want to make sure all these bones are defined in the correct places. So Unreal Engine and Iclone actually do this. This is quite intelligent for you. So you will see you've already got all these assigned for you automatically without you having to do anything else other than just putting it in. And so that looks all correct to me. Just have a quick look, make sure that's all properly set up. As long as it's okay, you're all good to go. And that's literally all you're doing here. And then you just go back into the skeleton tree. Just close this back down again so it's not too big. Close that down, we don't need all of that, right? So it's been properly set up. The rig's been set up as I showed you with the bones, so that's all fine. The skeleton's all good. So everything looks good there, and it's already ready to go apart from the animations. Now, there's only one other thing to do in here really, and that's the textures and materials. Now, we've got a lot of textures here that we're not even using, right? So if I just put a temp avatar in, right, so we can just see the character, and again you can navigate the Unreal Engine through the arrow keys, up, down, left and right. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in, etc, etc. You can also use W until everything's good to go. This is a bit of housekeeping really, we just don't need these extra textures, so you can safely get rid of them before they start confusing us later along the line. Okay. Right, so after you've got rid of a bunch of them, you'll find it gets easier to delete it then, because then it will just come up with that. Okay, and we just carefully delete what we don't need here, making sure we don't delete anything that is important. Okay, we're nearly done now. It's fine, we can get that. Okay. Right, as you can see, we've not lost any textures and materials. By now we would have lost textures and materials if we deleted the wrong things. So that's all absolutely fine. It makes everything a lot cleaner and easier to see what we're actually dealing with. So these are the textures that are actually being used. Again, you can see there's textures in here. This is just a temp avatar. Again, this just created a load of duplication in here. Stuff actually seems this stuff actually cannot be deleted because it's actually using stuff from the actual main stuff. So leave that as it is, exactly as it is. What you can do though is you can merge this on into the textures that we already have. These are all effectively just textures. So what you could do is you could just put that right into there. We're doing a temp avatar FBM files for the materials. We want to merge it in to the other materials which are in the actual temp avatar textures. So all we want to do here is just make sure we just merge this folder into this folder. And the way of doing that, because these are all basically texture files, so all we want to do with that is we just want to make sure that we open up this little window browser here. Make sure we go into temp avatar FBM, select all the files in this folder, left click and drag, put them straight into the textures folder so they're organized into the correct folder firstly. Okay, that's the first thing to do. And once they're in the right folder, we can go inside of the textures folder itself. Okay. And we'll see temp avatar. We can open that up. Okay. And then we can just select everything inside of it again. And then we can just drag all that out and place that all into the textures folder and move it. Okay, and once all that's been organized for you and there's nothing else in the temp avatar folder, it's all empty, it's all blank. It says drag files here to to create content. You can then safely delete that folder, it's all blank. And then everything now should be organized into just two folders. If you go back into the content folder where everything is in Unreal Engine, RL content is where the Iclone stuff is. So if you go into that, and then that's the name of the avatar, and you should see this file is empty, so we don't need it anymore. Delete that, right? So then we only have two files, one for the materials and one for the textures, and that's exactly what we need. We need to have two folders for this, so everything is properly organized. So the materials all look like this. So if you've not really used anything like Unreal Engine or Blender or anything like that, this is what materials look like. They have a circular shape to them, and then they just have the material going around it like that. That's the icon for it anyway. And the textures, they always look like this. They have normal maps, they have ambient occlusion maps, they have this is a combination of different maps together, but I can't remember which combination now though. I think it's roughness, metallic, and something else. But yeah, they combine maps together. That's the diffuse map, that's the displacement map. Basically, you know, it's the normal maps that you see when you're dealing with any 3D software or any artistic software, and yet they all apply as well into Unreal Engine, and all of them are being applied. And that's textures, you can recognize them because of their icons. Again, they're unique and distinct to textures itself. And so that's been properly organized now. And so once you've got all the materials and all the textures properly organized, then you're well on the way to getting it done in completed Unreal Engine. All you need to do is one other check. We need to make sure that the skeletons that are being used have been rigged, okay, so you can put animation onto them. So let me just make sure that is working now as well. So the way of doing this is if you go into the skeletal mesh, the purple icon there, temp avatar skeletal mesh, double click into that and make the window bigger. And if you go into the skeleton here, okay, what we need to do is click on the retarget manager here. Okay, and we need to make this window bigger if it already isn't big, so you can see this, the bones of the body here next to the rig. You want to make sure that the skeleton is selected, temp avatar, which is correct, and you want to make sure this is humanoid, which is also correct, and then you want to make sure that all of this corresponds to the correct parts. Unreal Engine and Iclone are actually very good in terms of the live link. It corresponds all the bones for you correctly in the right way for you. Just make sure that everything has a bone correctly allocated to it, and as long as that's all good to go, you're halfway there, and everything's almost there and ready to go. So then you can safely go out of that after everything's been properly set up there. This is all just the bones of the characters, and it shows you exactly where the bones are as well. So the skeleton tree is quite nice, it shows you where all the bones of the character are. Okay, so then you can close it down, you don't need that anymore. You don't even need that anymore. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're getting the motions into Unreal Engine. Now, we haven't actually got the motions in here at the moment, and when you do, you'll see animation files appearing. So what you need to do is you need to go back into Character Creator, and we need to export it back out as separate files instead. So let's just do that now then. Right, so let's go into Iclone now. Okay, so back into Iclone, just close that down. We need to do a manual export of this character, so make sure it's selected. Left click on that and make sure the character is selected. Make sure it's fully selected, so like that, yes. Perfect, okay. Right, and then what we want to do is we want to click on File, and we want to click on Export, and we want to click on Export FBX. Now what we want to do on these export options, we want to click on Unreal Engine if not already. It is for me, but it usually is Maya to start off with, but the computer crashed, so I have to do it again. But it's Unreal Engine, make sure you go into Unreal. Make sure that all the frames are selected in the range, because it's all the frames here. That's what you're selecting for the animation. Okay, we don't want to embed any textures really, but you can do if you wanted to. You can change the max texture size to make sure it's highest quality. Yeah, so we don't really want to embed any textures or anything like that. So if I just click on Export, that will then just get the character in, and then we can just take it from there really. Actually, I'll just put the textures in just to be safe. But I said we don't need it, so I'm going to save it as test, right, and save. And this message will appear saying about the auto setup. Just click OK. Right, once that's done, just wait for it for a few moments. Right, so now that's all exported out, so all we do is open up the file on the desktop first. So I don't like that view too much. I like it in here, so I can just see what's going on a bit better. Right, so if I just go into Unreal Engine now, we want to make sure this window is minimized, but not fully minimized. Just double click just to make it slightly smaller like that, and just drag it just so it comes out the way a bit. And what we want to do now is just want to drag it onto the actual window here. So we just want to drag our FBX file that we just created in Iclone, make this window smaller as well. Okay, and then just retweak it so you can see what you're doing, and then just click on the test.fbx file and just left click and drag straight into Unreal Engine until the icon appears, and this will appear and it will say character creator and Iclone auto setup. Make sure you can go for whatever you want to go for. I was going to go for the standard shader here. You can go for, that's ultra high quality. Okay, that's just standard. I'm just going to go for standard here. That's more than sufficient for what I want to do here. You can go for the ultra high one if you wanted to, but just bear in mind if your PC is not that powerful, you may not want to go for the ultra high one whilst doing that. So here we are. This is the export options now. Very important settings here is you want to make sure that you don't really want to be exporting the skeletal mesh, okay? But what you do want to do is just make sure it's ticked though, and just make sure that the skeleton is tamp avatar. Very, very important. Skeletal mesh will just basically make another skeletal mesh of the character. We don't really need that though. I'm just going to keep it on here just so you can see what happens. We want to import all animations, so on animations make sure you select animations here, and for animations here make sure you select animated time rather than exported time. Make sure you click on animated time and then click on the arrow here and make sure everything's good here. So import meshes, yep, it seems okay. Custom sample rates, yep. Okay, so that all seems to be good now, so just make sure your skeleton is set up, and we don't need skeletal mesh, so you can untick that if you wanted to really. I'll actually go ahead and untick that, oh actually yes we do need it, actually otherwise it won't come up, sorry, so we do need, yes we do need the skeletal mesh, sorry. So yep, that's a good way of finding out. If we just back up, if you open that arrow up from here, you'll get more options. In here, you just make sure, always make sure that you use TO as reference pose. Very important. Okay. Preserve meshes. Morph targets. I think we're going to need that actually for animation. Okay, normal, milker shape, computes. Yep, threshold, we don't worry about that too much. And yep, I think that is pretty much it really. So TO is reference pose. Make sure you do morph targets there, and then make sure you got your skeleton selected. Make sure the skeletal mesh is selected, and with all them settings good to go, if you just click on export now, everything should come in just fine. So just go into import there, import all, very important, and then it should come up hopefully, as long as everything's correct, without any error messages. So it did actually crash a few moments ago, so I'm just trying that again. Sometimes because of the resources required by this, it does tend to crash. It does need a lot of resources to get this done, unfortunately. Let's hope this time it does it successfully though. As you can see, it's doing the animation. It says total key. That is the animations that is got from the time frame, from the keyframes of the actual Iclone animations from the timeline, and it's now putting them frames as animations now into Unreal Engine. So it's doing what it's supposed to do now. This does take a while though, so just bear with it a few moments. Right, fine. If you notice anything different, then yes, it is. We're using Linux now, so I've switched over to Pop! OS Linux. The reason being because Unreal Engine, the last FBX exports, the manual exports, was failing every single time. So what I've gone and done is I've installed Unreal Engine onto Linux, and now I'm going to run through Linux. For this example, I'm just going to run it through where my file is stored, just to make it easier, so you're not seeing the terminal running or anything like that. it's quicker doing it this way once I have the project set up, which I've already set up for you on Linux as well. I've saved it and made sure it's compatible to work as well. So let me just go into that for you now. So that's the Unreal Engine test. That's where I'm saving my project, obviously. I had to resave it for Linux and had to say it detected a different format, most likely because I'm using Linux now. It's the same version of Unreal Engine 4.26, and it's just working on Linux. I've had to do a few things to make it work, just to let you know. The first thing I've had to do is I've had to remove all the plugins in the content folder. They were to do with the Unreal Engine, the Iclone plugins. The first one was a Live Link plugin, and the second one was the Unreal Engine plugin, and then the other one with the Replica Studio. So I just got rid of them plugins. That's the first thing I did. I got rid of the plugins folder completely. The second thing I did was in the RL content in the temp avatar. There was 5 folders. There's 5 files in here. Temp UAsset files. There was the live plugin assets UAsset files. I had to get rid of them as well because they don't work on Linux and on Unreal Engine, because obviously they are specific to Iclone only. So I had to make sure I got rid of them. Other than that, everything else has stayed the same, and after getting rid of all of them, I literally just copied my content folder, say not my content, my CC shaders folder and my RL content folder straight over onto the Linux folder. So basically on here I created a new project on Linux. I basically saved all the content onto there, and I copied over the remaining files onto here, as you can see. So there's the CC shaders, and there's the RL content to make it consistent with what we had before. So all I have to do now is just run this file here, my project, and then open with Unreal Engine Editor, since I've already associated with Unreal Engine Editor, and everything's been fully set up, so I've just got to run it now, and it will run almost like on Windows. Okay, so as you can see, it's running my project. Now, one thing to note is I think that this will work much better on Linux for several reasons, really. First reason, because the memory management on Linux is much better than on Windows. Windows is very wasteful of resources, so this should be able to deal with the task much more efficiently without crashing. We shall see in a few moments. Right, I'm getting this error. It's something to do with the eye shaders not being set up properly, but in this case it's not too important, so I'm not going to look into it too much. But here's our character. Right, so that's it's all working, and absolutely no issue at all with the actual character itself. Okay, right, so then if I just go into the actual so this is the actual folder. Now I want to put in a manual export again. So if I just minimize that and I go into the just open it up on my menus here. So in my pen drive folder, it is in the Unreal Engine Linux folder on Linux, and then here's my test.fbx file. Now, as usual, we can just drag it along. We can try that method. Just left click and drag and put it straight into the browser, and as you can see, it is working. It's saying importing test. Right, so let it do that, and here we go. So we're back to what we're seeing in Windows as well, and here's the usual FBX export option. So it is the same as it was in Windows. You can just left click and drag it onto the actual main window, no issues at all with that. And just make sure everything's okay here again. So import mesh, that's the temp avatar skeleton. Right, it's got rid of that TO, so TO as ref, make sure that's turned on. Use TO as ref pose. Make sure import morph targets is also on. Okay, I'm just going through the settings just to make sure everything is okay here again, because obviously we're doing it from a different operating system, so things might have changed. Right, so and then we need to go into animation. We need to make sure animation is on for a start. We need to make sure it's on animated time as usual, and then we just need to make sure that everything else in here is also good. Yep, that all looks good to me. Okay, and just double check on here just to make sure. Yep. Okay, so once all that's been confirmed to be accurate and correct, all we need to do is click on import all, and now we just wait. and hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything's good, it won't crash the computer, and hopefully we'll have it into actual Unreal Engine now. Apparently it frozen last time, so what I had to do was I had to import it back in using the Unreal Engine method. So I just import it by going to add import and then import the FBX file that way. It can be a bit funny sometimes, but it is working now, so let's hope and pray it finishes off. And there we have it. After a lot of waiting, it's actually loading up. Right, so let's have a look at what's done here then. And there we go. There's our animation. Right, the voice doesn't seem to have come off. The lip syncing has. Yeah, so the audio hasn't come off, but maybe there's a way you could put the audio back in. But yes, that does seem to be working now in Unreal Engine. So yep, that's quite impressive. So that's the animation. So when you load it up into Unreal Engine, it's the animation file, which is the anim file. That's what it uses to actually create an animation inside of Unreal Engine now. I've never really done any voice recordings yet and lip syncing and tried to put it in, so I don't know what is supposed to happen with that, but that's how you do it. Maybe I forgot a step or two, but that basically is there. It's just that the voice hasn't been captured on the actual character, but the animations, the movements are all there. It's just the audio isn't in this particular case. I'm sure there's a way you could get it on, but I'm not sure how you do that in Unreal Engine now. It's not really dealt with any soundtracks or anything else, but that's maybe something I'll do in future videos. Basically, that's there. It's all working. The animation is working absolutely fine. The only thing that's not come onto that is the actual audio of the character actually speaking, unfortunately. Everything else is there after a lot of waiting, and Pop! OS and Linux has saved me again on this occasion. So yep, it's all working and it's still recording, so that's not a problem at all. Right, so whilst it's here, so that's obviously the animation file. That's the physics set. I don't know why it's created more. Oh yes, I know why it's made more textures. We don't need any of them textures though. So what I'm going to do is it's made more textures from the actual animation itself. Now, because it's an animation, we don't actually need textures. There's absolutely no need for that at all. So what I'm going to do is get rid of these textures again. They've been created in here because I said we don't need it whatsoever. Right. Sometimes it can be a bit slow, just bear with it. And there we go. So these is duplicate textures, you're not going to affect anything at all on the actual model, so that's not a problem. Right, so character is practically back to what it was before now. Just get rid of these ones, that one as well. Right. Yep. Right, just go ahead and keep deleting it. This is just to clean up because we don't need all this mess happening here. This is just because obviously it's imported the skeletal details again. We don't need duplicate texture still. That just gets very confusing if we had that, so let's just get rid of all of that. Right, so we've just got the files we need then. It's always best just to the files you're working with to avoid any confusion inside the engine. Okay. Right, so now we're practically there now. Okay, so these are the files just created now. I'm just going to save everything out. Very important to do that. So we got all the assets, we got all the animations and everything now. That will be saved onto that now for you. And that's all done now. Okay, so with all of that done, we're practically finished. The housekeeping's done almost. In terms of keeping everything organised, it's very important to keep things organised because if you don't, obviously, things can very easily fall apart. So, very, very important. Now, this has made 2 physics assets now. I don't know which one is the right one and which isn't the right one. I'm just going to keep both of them. Right, so we've got the Tamp avatar, which is your main character, the skeletal mesh. That's obviously what we were using before to get the rigging and everything sorted out. When we went to skeleton and we went into here and made sure everything was okay, and still everything is okay on that, and it's still the skeleton for the Tamp avatar and humanoid. Right, so that's all fine. And yes, that is practically it. That's the skeleton. That just shows you the bones and everything like I showed you before. Right, and this is the actual second skeletal. This is the second skeletal mesh, the one I don't think we need. It's, yeah, we don't need that one. Right, we can delete that. Yep, it's using the test physics asset, which I think is this one here. So let's get rid of this one first. These are basically 2 extra ones. We don't need it because we already have our own ones already. This is being created from the animation itself. We don't need that. Right, so it's just referring to the test file. Right, if I just get rid of both of them together, then it will not cause any issues like that. Okay, so we don't need them files in this occasion, they're just getting in our way. Right, so all we need is the files there, right? So we've got the animation still playing and nothing is wrong with it. So that's the files you should end up with after you finished. You should only have one skeletal mesh, the working one, only one physics asset, the working one, and only one skeleton, and obviously the animation files that have been created. In this case it's the walking bits and then the talking, which has not come out properly in terms of the audio, but everything else, the lip syncing is absolutely fine. The hard bit is already there actually. So yep, that's all looking good. And if we had the audio, that would be playing the audio right now as well. So yep, I'll look into that later on when I look into Unreal Engine again, because I will be revisiting things in this and seeing how to get the audio back up, because unfortunately I've not done a character with audio on this before, so that's one thing I have to look into myself. But yep, that's all working. Nothing else needs to be done with that, so just make sure you click on File Save All. And that is showing you how to get the character inside of Unreal Engine organized, encrypted, everything ready to go, animations encrypted. That character is now absolutely fine and literally ready to go using the Unreal Engine Live Link set up. And obviously Linux, we had to get rid of the files because it was causing issues. And the only other thing to do now, really, regarding Iclone itself, is just the 3D Exchange, where we look at custom animations. We actually bring animations into 3D Exchange, and then we just put in some custom animations ourselves and just encrypt it onto the character. Similar things we've done before, just recapping with some custom animation. That's all that's not part of Character Creator or Iclone. Let's quickly wrap up doing that, and after all that's been done, then this whole video series is complete. So I'll just go into 3D Exchange now and switch back over onto Windows.